need of irfan. And we used the surah of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, when the ayah was explaining how Zulaykha was with Yusuf in the house and she closed the doors and she told him to come to her. وَقَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ. He said, I seek refuge in Allah. إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنُ مَثْوَاي. He says, I seek refuge in Allah. He is my Lord. He has honored me. إِنَّهُ رَبِّي. He is my Lord. This was iman. This was faith. But this did not deter Zulaykha. So iman was shown by Nabi Yusuf. Yet it carries on in the surah and the ayah says, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ. But she tried to seduce him still. وَهَمَّ بِهَا. And he would have fell for her. لَوْلَا أَنْ رَأَى بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ. He would have fell for her had he not seen the burhan of his Lord. That was irfan. That was gnosis. That was when he saw the truths. When you see a sin for its truth, you would not drink a cup of poison because you know that you would die after it. Even if it tasted like your favorite drink, if you knew there was poison inside, you wouldn't drink it. You saw the truth of it. That's how you would see the sin when you reach the state of gnosis. So even the anbiya, even the imams are in need of that state. That's the state that they are at. When they are ma'sumin, that's what we're saying. They see the truths, the haqa'iq, the bawatin. We want to also reach a stage where we see truths. Of course, we would never reach the levels of the imams, but we can reach a stage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us, has put infused potential within us to reach the stage where we see these haqa'iq and these bawatin, where we see the truths. So today we want to speak about how do we get to iman through good action. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So far we have broken knowledge down into bits. Right now we also want to break an action down into its separate parts. That what are the different parts of an action? We said you begin with knowledge. That no action, no movement can be carried out except with knowledge prior to it. So you must have ilm, knowledge of a thing before you carry out an action. You must also want it to happen. You have to have shawq. That's the second part of the action. If you do not want to do something, you won't do it. You may be forced to do something, but ultimately you are the one who wanted to do it. No one can actually force you to do anything, really and truly, within yourself. You are willing this, and that's the third part, when you will it. So you have ilm, shawq, irada. Ilm, you have knowledge of it. Shawq, you want to do it. Irada is when you will it. When you decide you're going to carry out this act. And the final part is tanfiz or tasdeeq, when you bring the action into reality. And this happens in mere seconds. This is split into parts and it happens in milliseconds, if you will. This is called amal fikri. Amaliya fikriya. This is the process of tafakkur. This is what tafakkur means. When we were speaking yesterday about tafakkur is a very sensitive point in one's life when it comes to deciding what you want to do. Because whatever you decide on, whatever you conclude on, it becomes a part of you. Just to use some examples so we can break this down further. I want to drink some water. I have knowledge of what water is. I have knowledge what water does. It quenches thirst. I have knowledge where it is, where I can find it. I want to do it. So I get up, I will it. I get up, I will it, I put into the cup and I drink it. Tanfidh, now I drank water. This is the process of tafakkur. I contemplated. It happened quickly. It wasn't much for me to contemplate upon because I'm thirsty. So I want to drink. But this is how the action was carried out. If the tafakkur was to be spaced out even further, let's say when a young man wants to marry someone, then this contemplation takes a lot more time. Then there is knowledge, let's say of the girl, let's say of the need to marry, let's say of your needs, of your time, knowledge that this is the time now for me to finally settle down. You want to do it. Before you decide that you want to, you're thinking about should I or shouldn't I? This is the stage of tafakkur. You weigh out the pros and the cons. Should I go through with this? How would it benefit me in dunya, in akhirah? Should I not go through with this? Is this girl suitable for me? Would we work out? Would we not work out? And ultimately, if you conclude that you will carry this out, that is when shawk is born, when you want to do it. And then you will it, and you do everything that you can do within your power to make it happen. And you either end up getting married, or her father doesn't accept you, or anything else. The rest is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It helps if you have a really nice car and a really nice house. But ultimately, your own action, you are the one, through tafakkur, through the process, through the amal fikri, you decide if you want this thing or you don't want this thing. This is so sensitive because whatever you conclude upon in life, it affects you for the rest of your life. Sure, a sip of water isn't that deep. It's not going to leave this permanent effect on us. Like when we decide to do something that would affect our relationships, our career, our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a sin or the other. Whatever you decide in these small processes, in your tafakkur, enter the heart. And especially the effect becomes greater the more it is done. So through repetition, the effect is stronger and stronger. So if you are always concluding to decide to do a good action, then this effect is becoming stronger in your heart. And if you decide to commit a wrong action, which is still your decision, as much as shaitan is whispering to you, as much as there is still an inclination from you, then that also enters the heart. And the more you repeat these actions, the more they grow within and become a part of you. And something is developed called malika, which can be translated into English as a habit, or in some instances, mastery. So we want to speak about spiritual mastery. How can I spiritually master my own self? We spoke about mastering the mental images and the information that you allow into your minds. This is about mastering your actions. Through mastering the amaliya fikriya, because what happens is when mastery comes in, when malika comes in, there is no more amaliya fikriya. There is no more process of tafakkur when there is a habit or mastery. Like, for example, when you first began to drive, you were always so nervous, you checked every single mirror. You would drive, then brake, then go, slow, you're nervous. A month, 2 months, 3 months after training, after becoming normal, what happens? One gets in the car, doesn't even think about it. You can text and drive and play Pokemon Go at the same time. Because it became a malika. You see, it became a habit, or you mastered driving. Do you think about your handwriting? You don't think, should I write in this way? This is the way you write. There is no more tafakkur. You jump tafakkur. You've cancelled out the process of ilm, shawk, irada. So you do this thing now without even thinking. When you walk in the street, you walk, you don't think right foot, left foot, right foot. You just walk and you talk at the same time. And you're on the phone and you're looking around and you know where you're going. All these things are happening at the same time. You don't need tafakkur anymore, because you have made this a malika. You have made this a habit, and you have made a mastery out of this. So, what happens when someone who is always getting angry, the anger becomes a malika for them? You see, it becomes a habit for them. They scream without thinking. They say, I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know, for those few seconds I just lost my mind. I don't know why I said those things, I didn't mean them. When they calm down, then they're back into tafakkur mode. Then they think, why did I do that? But because it has become such a habit for them, because it is a malika, then they don't think when they're screaming. God forbid, what happens when a sexual desire becomes a habit and a malika in a haram way? This person becomes addicted to doing these actions, and the more they do these actions, the stronger it is to resist. The more it enters the heart, the more it settles into the heart. So what Iman is, ultimately, Iman is being able to master what you want to be a master at and refuse what you don't want to be a malika or a bad habit within you. That's what Iman is. Iman is when the knowledge settles into the heart through you organizing what you want to master and what you don't want to master. What you want to be a part of you without thinking. So you want to be someone who does good action so much that you don't have to think about doing good action. It's just your habit. It's your reflex. You do good action after good action. You help people here and you help people there. You read Quran so much. You see, you keep doing these things so much that this is just part of your routine. This is part of who you are. It settles into your heart. And you refuse and resist those actions which bring down from your existence. That is what Iman is. And whilst we are still struggling between bad habits and good habits and addictions, really, because this is what these things are. These are addictions. We are addicted to these things. Then we have not yet reached Iman. We're still going from ilm to Iman. We're still trying to do Amal Salih. But Amal Salih has not become a part of us yet. How do we know that Amal Salih has become a part of me? Is when I have control over my actions, over myself, and I know what I can master and not master. There is a book called Mastery by, I believe, George Leonard. And he speaks about different types of people. The master, the hacker, the dabbler. He says the master is the one who, when they start without anything, not knowing anything. For example, he brings the example of an athlete, someone who's trying to play tennis. So first of all, he finds a coach. He finds a teacher. The teacher shows him the small subtleties within training of playing tennis, like the swing, the wrist, all these small subtleties that he wouldn't be able to know on his own. And he practices. And it takes hours and hours and hours and hundreds and thousands of hours of practice until this person is able to play at Wimbledon. These professional sports stars, these professional tennis players, for example, it's a malika for them to play tennis. They can do it with their eyes closed because of how much they practice. And of course, before you get to the level of mastery, there are several plateaus that you reach. So Leonard says that once you get to a plateau, it's frustrating, but the master is the one who sticks to the task until he breaks the plateau. This is the master. But then there is the dabbler. The dabbler is the one who starts with enthusiasm. He's excited. He wants to show that he can do this and he can go into it. And he's so happy in the first few weeks with all the progress that he makes. He makes a significant amount of progress. And in the beginning, the dabbler and the master are going at parallel levels. But what happens is, because the master is patient during the plateau, after 5 weeks, for example, something just clicks. Something clicks and he begins to have reflexes he didn't have before. Whereas the dabbler, once he hits the plateau, he leaves it and he starts something else. He always wants to start something new. He started a new job. He's excited about the job. He tells all his friends about the job. He tells his family about the job. 5 months down the line, things get tough. He leaves it. He starts a new job, a whole new career. Then he tells his family about the job. The same thing. The dabbler, this is how they are in their relationships. He sees a girl. He speaks to the girl. He's in the honeymoon phase. As soon as the honeymoon phase is over, khalas, he moves on to the next one. He's not interested anymore because he's a dabbler. When it reached a plateau, when arguments began to happen, as they always do, as mature individuals were supposed to talk these things out, the dabbler can't. The plateau doesn't mean much for him. He moves on. And the hacker is the one who, when they reach the plateau, they just stick to it. They don't start anything new, but they just don't try to break the plateau. So if the hacker is in a relationship and the relationship starts going sour, he doesn't try to fix it. He doesn't go with anyone else. He just stays there for 30 years, just in the same zone. This is the Hakka. So what happens is, a lot of the time, most of us, we are dabblers in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are dabblers. So we're enthusiastic. Shahr Ramadan, Muharram, the lecture, I feel fire, Arfan, I'm going to go to Allah. And then 10 days after Shahr Ramadan's over, Eid, everything, your friends having a party, something happens, the people that you're around, they're no longer in the same zone. That's it. Then you move off. Oh, you're so motivated, you pray Salat al-Layl 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, then you leave it. Then you don't go anymore. Then you do this dhikr that day. Then this day you stop. Then this day you read a juzu. Then this day, it's dabbling, you see. I mean, at least the person is trying to do something good. That's great. But they're not breaking plateaus. They're getting bored and they're just starting with enthusiasm and the fire always dwindles out. You see, inspiration and motivation, they're not reliable. If you rely on your inspiration and your motivation, then you're always not letting anything be in your own hands. You're not letting your tasks, your own actions be in your own hands. You're not a master. You don't have control of what you're doing. Because you're leaving it to the way you feel. It's not about the way you feel. Look at salat. Should salat be something that is a malika or not? This is interesting now. Because there are parts of salat that should be a malika and parts that shouldn't be a malika. So you have to be a master to control. So the time of salat should be a malika. That should be a habit. You should be a master at praying on this time. And we should develop this when the adhan goes off. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi Muhammad. The Prophet wouldn't waste time. He would pray. It's a malika. That's his habit. He is a master of praying on time. But when he comes to salat, when you say Allahu Akbar, should this be a malika now, the words that they're saying? No. You should be reflecting. You should be present. Otherwise, if it's a malika, then you're just saying it robotically in autopilot once again. So you must differentiate what you master and what you don't. So when you wake up for Fajr and you're still in bed, this is not the time of tafakkur. Should I get up? Should I not? If I have 10 more minutes, then I can... Because before you know it, the amaliyah fikriya will end and you're asleep. So a master doesn't think. He wakes up for Salat Fajr, doesn't think. It's just part of the everyday routine. Goes, wudu, Salat, khalas. Because he's a master at it now. So one has to develop and know. And it's not about the way one feels. If it's always about the way one feels, then nothing we do, you don't go to work when you feel like it. You don't go to the gym when you feel like it. You're not successful that way. This is a gem of a line, a gem of advice is this, honestly. And if one lives by this, then they will be able to achieve success at any task they do. Successful people do what they have to do, whether they feel like it or not. Successful people do what they have to do, whether they feel like it or not. It doesn't matter to them if they feel that they should go now or not go now or undergo this task or not, because they already set their goal. They know that the goal takes these actions, so they will do these actions. A lot of the time we underestimate how much time we have. We think tomorrow. We think today. Like today is so inconsequential. Like today is just some other day. But today, tomorrow, after tomorrow, it all adds up quickly. We say it's a process. Of course it's a process. It's a process. Don't break yourself. Don't start off at 100 miles per hour. But at the same time, if it's a process, this is a process that you have to try your best every day to reach the goal. It's not that you do one thing one day, another thing another day. That's the dabbler. The dabbler never reaches his potential. It's just every day is inconsequential. Don't be like the one who Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, when the Imam says, don't look at their prayers and don't look at their fasts. To paraphrase. Do not look at their prayers and their fasts, because many a time one's prayer is just with his tongue. He says, look to sidq al-hadith wa radd al-amana. That's when you know, that's how you're able to judge someone. Is do they tell the truth? Are they an honest person? And do they return the amana? You can tell more about someone from their speech of honest speech, of sidq al-hadith and radd al-amana, than you can from their prayers and their fasts. Because prayers and fasts can just be an autopilot. The Imam is saying it. And so we're trying to get away from autopilot. We're trying to achieve mastery. To achieve mastery, we need to understand that every action we do has a consequence within us. And we'll speak more about this tomorrow. But every action we do has a consequence within us. Your body affects your soul. Your soul affects your mind. Your mind affects your body. Your mind affects your soul. It's all interconnected and intertwined. And so we have to get away from these bad habits and these addictions that are so much around us. And it's much easier to say, like a lot of us are addicted to our phones because the phone is just so convenient. But even that, a master cannot be held slave to his phone. If you're a master, you cannot be enslaved by a smartphone. And these are small things that we all need to work on. These affect spirit, without any doubt. Addictions, things that are not in your control, addictions affect spirit. A lot of us are also addicted to television. And if you watch TV every single day, then that is some form of addiction. Think about it. If you see someone doing any action every single day, you'd say he's perhaps addicted to that action if he can't stop. Television, how much time it wastes. If we're not watching anything that's going to benefit us, one has to really think, this hour or 2 or 3 that I spend watching TV a day, what am I watching? Is it good for my heart? Is it not good for my heart? Even if it's a normal show, is this normal show good for my heart? Is it not good for my heart? You know, when I was a child, I remember that TV show Friends was always on TV. And me and my sisters would just always watch Friends. And now when I watch Friends, I just put it on the other day and I haven't seen it in years. And I couldn't believe how terrible the innuendos were in those episodes. And we had watched so many episodes and I could only think, how much did that come into my heart when I was a child? How much of those meanings did they transfer onto me when I was growing up? Which I, in my psyche, my subconscious self, did not notice. So we have to be aware of what goes inside our minds, our hearts, and our children's hearts. The smallest things, TVs and video games, which I'm not saying you shouldn't play video games. There's a place for it in people's lives if they want to have some rest. But when someone is addicted and not in control of their actions, because these can easily lead to addictions. And then there are the haram things, the haram addictions that one needs to stop. So how do we stop haram addictions? The first thing is, you flee from that place. Whatever that haram addiction occurs, do not go to that place. Wherever those people are that allow you to be inclined to commit that action, you must never go back to that place. That place, when you're there, is danger zone. And you know the place. The second step, and I've mentioned this before, is to never trust your nafs. Never trust the self. So even if you fleed from the place, the nafs will begin to tell you, now I'm strong. Now I'm fine. We can go back. Or we can go to a place that looks like that place. It's not the same place, the same attributes, but technically it's not the same. The nafs, always suspect the nafs. Always hold yourself to trial. Always keep it right there and keep your guard up. Because as soon as your guard goes down, you can easily be overtaken by shaitan. So one must flee from the place. And the third step is that one must occupy themselves and keep themselves busy. So if you are addicted to an action, a physical action, then you must occupy yourself with another physical action. If you are addicted to a meaningful action, then you must occupy yourself with another meaningful action. And this is difficult because a lot of our places now are not just places. They're on the internet, they're on social media, they're on our own accounts. So we have to flee from even those things if those things are becoming bad for us. at least for a temporary period of time if you can't do it for good. You really have to see what is your goal. Because if your goal is valuable, this is how you have to weigh it out. If I can't stop what I'm doing, is what I'm doing more important than what I am risking? Is the risk to reward ratio. You see, maybe this thing is going to be very pleasurable for me, as risky as it is. But what am I really risking though? Am I risking my marriage? Am I risking my career? Am I risking my reputation? Is this action worth that? If it isn't, you would commit the action. If you really believe that it's worth more, if you really felt that these bad actions are going to interrupt with your great goal, and that's why I aim so high. If these bad actions will interrupt with your goal, these actions that are not noble and honorable, then we'd have to stop them. Then we'd have to think, how can I cut these things out? And this comes through repetition, repetition, repetition. Repeating the good action and repeating to abstain from the bad action so that we may achieve mastery and transfer ilm into iman and allow it to settle into our hearts. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad.